Hi everyone, how are we feeling? There we go. Guys, welcome to our Black History Month panel. My name is Jamila. You might have seen me. If you were here on Monday, my hair was different. I did it yesterday. That's the magic. We change our hair all the time. Okay. I'm going to introduce, or they'll introduce themselves, the lovely panel. They'll tell you their name, what they do, and if they say plantain or plantain. That's what I want to know. Reese is in trouble already. Reese, if you want to start.
Hello everybody, my name is Reese. I'm a manager and marketing manager, and it is plantain because it's a noun.
Oh, we love that. Okay, Kamali.
Hiya, I'm Kamali Scott-Jones. I am an A&R director at AWOL. I'm also a co-founder of the Black Music Coalition and the Debrief, and it's definitely plantain. I'm Jamaican and Bayesian. I'm so sorry.
We've got two plantains on the panel. T, how you feeling?
Hi everyone, I'm Timoshay. I run a youth culture agency and I also manage a DJ, and I believe it is plantain, but I'll give you yourself.
Okay, that's fine. Do I say what I think to round it off? I'm gonna say plantain because I'm from St. Vincent. My whole family is probably the whole island because it's so small. So yeah, but it's fine. You know, plantain, mountain. Okay, guys, so the theme of this evening's topic is inclusion and diversity within the music industry. And I'm going to start off with some questions. They are very wordy. If I do start up, please don't laugh, okay? Because reading makes me nervous. We're going to jump in. Guys, are we ready? Okay. What are some of the key challenges and barriers that Black individuals face in the music industry today? And how can we work to overcome them? I know, I'm starting hard. Of course, come on, take it.
I think that the main thing is access. I was really lucky in terms of my journey. I grew up with two parents that have always kind of worked in the music industry or been in and around it. And so it was tangible for me and I knew what it looked like, and not the whole thing, but it was like, oh, this is an option. But I think for a lot of us, especially I would say, my friends that are African rather than Caribbean, I think it's even more pronounced. But even for us as Caribbeans too, it's like culturally, you know, we're first or second generation children of immigrants, and the whole thing is that you need to get your head down, get a good job and a sensible job that makes money and that they understand, like a lawyer, a dentist, a doctor. And when you come and tell your mum that you want to rap or you want to kick a ball, it's like, kicking a ball is like a little bit more tangible, isn't it? But still, it's like 1 in a million, right? And I think a lot of that is you're not encouraged to take a creative path because they, you know, it's coming from a good place, but they want you to be more secure, and there hasn't been that scope for such creativity. And I think that's just been a general barrier to entry, even though it hasn't stopped many people for the last few decades. Yeah, and I also think that the industry is a little bit of a boys' club and has been for a really long time. And I don't think it feels that nice to enter a space where you know you're going to be excluded or not appreciated and all of that kind of stuff. So I feel like it's kind of easy to keep that quite gate kept. And again, it's about being in the know. And I think it's really important, like schools like this and, you know, a lot of the panel talks that I do for people that are just like, oh shit, I didn't know that was a job. There's more than just being a manager or an A&R. And I think those are probably, in terms of music industry jobs, the roles that people are most familiar with, or like, you know, music Twitter or like talk about all day long. But actually there's so much scope in terms of the career that you can have, whether you're creative yourself and want to be a music maker, or you want to be a bit more behind the scenes and, you know, it's like TV and radio plugging, or press, or I don't know, stage design. Like it's so broad, and I don't think that is explained enough to people that aren't in the know, and it shouldn't be like that. Yeah. The question of what we can do about it, that's a whole question in itself. I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Reese.
Yeah, I think I didn't even think about your first point, and I think it's important because, like, when you come down to being a lawyer or a doctor, it's easily quantifiable in terms of what the return will be. But music, especially like when I started, it was so ambiguous. So to say you're going to work in music, it was like, what does that mean? And then to have to explain it to them. And I even put on an event and I would go up to people that look like us and be like, oh, do you want to work in music? And they were like, no. And then I'd be like, what do you want to do? And I'd be like, oh, I want to be like a lawyer, or I don't do marketing. It's like, they didn't click that they could do that within music. And so it's a hard conversation. Like, I'll be honest, when I told my dad I'm going into music, he was like, you got a degree, I thought you were smarter than that. Like, so he just didn't have any idea of what it was, do you get what I mean? So that was definitely a barrier. And I think in terms of like now, I think like Kamali said, it's a bit of a boys club, and I think there can be this, not getting caught up in this kind of mirage of like just putting us there, or like for diversity's sake. Like the inclusion part is important, and I think with inclusion, I feel that's actually being in a kind of position where you can make a change. So I think that's a bit of the difficulty, because you can be in a space where there's actually a lot of us, but where are we in the actual structure? So yeah.
T, do you want to add to that?
I think I agree with both what you're saying, with what you're both saying, but I think it's even when you're inside those spaces, how safe is it as well?
Yeah.
I think that like you tend to have like lower, like I guess black people at like lower jobs, and then it's like, who are they being managed by? How are they treating them? And I think that is something that's like, that isn't questioned enough. And I think that a lot of the music that is distributed in the UK is black music, and who is making the decisions for these releases, etc. And how are they protecting not even just the people that work there, but also the artists? So yeah, I think it's like Kamali said, why the conversation?
That was a whole panel in itself. That's first question.
It's true. To follow on all your points, I remember when I was in school and music, it wasn't a thing. You didn't know about music management, being a music lawyer, doing this and do that. My mum would be like, Jam, you're going to be a doctor, or you're going to be a lawyer. But I guess, as you said, coming from first, second generation, it's about money. How are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to pay your mortgage? Go have fun. What's fun? What's making music in the studio? What do you mean? It's such a fantasy dream that, again, for them wasn't attainable, but for us it was. So I completely agree. But just to follow your point, T, we got a question that says, what role do allies and non-black industry professionals play in advancing diversity and inclusion in the music industry? It's a deep one.
I think it's so important, but I also don't even think they understand the role that they play yet. I think that they, like, it's, again, I think for them it's so easy to just offer an internship, but not understanding that, like, you have to provide a different type of care. Like, a lot of the people that I've spoken to that come from different backgrounds that work in the music industry, it's sort of like, oh yeah, I was working at a pub and I like really, really wanted to work in music, so I just forced them to give me a job. But me as a black girl, I've had bills from when I was 16. I couldn't work at a pub. Like I always say that I wanted to be I wanted to be an investment banker because I thought that's where the big bucks are. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a sacrifice you have to make when you work in music because you don't make a lot of money straight away. Mm-hmm. And even still, I think a lot of roles are underpaid. So I think even like when it comes to allyship, it looks like creating, not even just like offering internships, but ensuring that like HR are clued up on like the things that matter to black people, the things you can and you can't say, because like even today, and obviously I run a marketing agency, so it's different. We were in the office and someone basically told us that we're talking too loud because we're laughing, and she was being patronizing, and then it's like, no, we also pay for the space, so you can't tell us that. And I think sometimes they don't even, like, sometimes allyship looks like stepping in when someone's trying to make someone else look uncomfortable, and I don't know if that's like, if like, again, I might sound very negative, but trust me, work in music, it's not always like do it by the books, like do it behind closed doors as well. Ensure that you're building real relationships with people at the bottom, and like sort of building that pipeline for them, so it like nepotism can work in their favor as well. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Guys, anything you want to add to that?
I think allyship is really important, and it's easier than I think people want to admit, because, you know, we all have different privileges in different situations, and I think no one ever wants to give up their comfort. Like, that's never a fun thing, innit? Like, you wouldn't just be like, oh, well, this person doesn't have a house, so let's swap. Like, that's not realistic. But I think it's just about making people feel seen. And if you do witness something, again, obviously we're here for Black History Month and that is the focus, but you know, even to break that down to gender, for example, it's like, or yeah, let's keep it on race actually, we don't need to move around. But my point is that if you witness someone being made to feel uncomfortable, you being silent is being complicit. If you can see that person being affected, or they're upset, or they cry, or they, you know, walk out, or they're holding back tears, or whatever it is, if you don't at any point, and I don't mean like years after, it's like if you can't say something in that moment, because it could have taken everyone aback, but even if it's moments after, or you send them a text later that night or the next day just to say, do you know what, I saw what happened there and like that wasn't cool and I'm really sorry, here if you want to talk. It's as small as that. And it's just a compassion that I think historically Black people haven't been shown. And, you know, we're kind of treated like, oh, well, you don't really have feelings and it doesn't matter that you're upset, or, you know, we're strong Black women, and all of these really damaging myths that sound quite harmless on the surface, but they're actually not. And if if it's endemic in our society that we don't deserve that level of compassion or kindness on any level, whether it's in healthcare or, you know, at work, that's something that just can go unchallenged. And I think it's just up to us to kind of, it's just compassion really. And it starts there. And obviously on a bigger level, it's also about going, what isn't working here, and understanding that we all have a role to play, and how we benefit off these things. We have to all do better in the ways that we can, and you don't get to just like hang out and just be like, oh yeah, well, you know, I like Black music. That's not enough. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't go far enough, and it's about a human experience for me.
Reese, anything you want to add? We can move on.
No, just to echo what Kamali said, I think the main part for me was the sacrifice. I think there's difference when, like, I've been in many situations and I don't feel aggrieved if someone's just purely ignorant to something, but it hits different if that person knows that there's something wrong and they should have spoken up. Do you get what I mean? Like, I feel convicted if I see something, no matter who someone is, and I don't speak up or say anything. And I think that's the sacrifice. I think what I've seen in the past is many situations, and it's also sometimes people that look like us, where they see something going on, and because they're scared of how it might affect their job or X, Y, Z, they stay silent. And it just ends up creating this cycle of these things to continue. And it's like someone needs to break the cycle. And I think that, combined with, like you said, you know, making sure HR's on point and make sure the infrastructure's on point, can start to build that kind of energy. Like, everybody has to kind of have it within them. Do you know what I mean?
No, agreed. I used to work for a well-known band. I'm not going to say who because it's on camera. And I've signed NDAs. And it's true. And I remember I was the only Black girl in the office, and they would refer to me as being so exotic. Like, Jam, you're so exotic. You're so this, and everyone would think it's so funny. Or I would bring in just rice and peas and jerk chicken. Oh, what season do you have on your dinner? Or what's this? And they pinpointed that I was Black. Like, I'd never felt more Black in my life than in that moment. And I did wish that someone stepped in to be like, yo, it's just jerk seasoning. Like, it's literally kidney beans and some rice. Like, do you know what I mean? But even minuscule things like that can make you feel like, right, I'm really a Black woman in a white space, in a music space, but I feel so alienated. And it was really interesting. I left that place because I thought it's not good for my mental health. Even the pay was sweet, guys. But again, exactly, money is not everything for that sort of things. You need to have your self-respect and to be like, no, this isn't for me. Even though it's like, do you know what I mean? Go on, see.
I think it's like even detrimental to like yourself, and it can really like knock you back like 10 times, and like until you're out of that situation you don't even realize like what it done to your self-esteem, or like what it done to, and like self-esteem aside of like, but like what it done to like your work, like how it made you feel about like you as like someone that delivers work. So I even like I echo what you said, I think that's even that, like, apart from allyship, there's a responsibility of like, I guess, stakeholders that are Black to step in when things aren't right, because you were once our age and you were once like going through similar things, and like now that you're up there, like not even about passing the ladder down, like keep it down and like put your hand down as well. And I don't know everyone that's black in the industry, but I don't know if there's enough of that.
Yeah.
You know what? I think I still think though that can't be on their heads alone, because ultimately at that level, there's still so few of them that there's not many stakeholders, honestly. And so unfortunately that attitude that does feel like should be behind us and in the past, it isn't, and they might lose their jobs over certain things that we can't even imagine. I'm not saying they should be scared of it, but it should change their approach.
I mean, I feel like if it's coming from someone above you, keep your mouth shut.
But
If you're seeing people that on like the same pairs, like, and things are, I think.
I agree in it. I live those raps, but I do definitely think that again it is a generational thing, and like people can only do as much as they. It's not like only do as much as they can, but it's like if you've think about coming up as your age and that's how you had to survive. Everyone's in survival mode. When you're living in survival mode, you're not your best self. You're not making, you can't always be compassionate or share or be selfless. And again, not excuses, but I definitely feel like if their non-black allies were showing up for them, that would be a safe space. They wouldn't have to feel so under threat. And it would be like, oh yeah, that was wrong. And my man just backed me and we're cool now and it's a conversation. Whereas I could definitely say that still isn't always happening for people. And the reality of, oh, I've got kids to feed or my mortgage or whatever, you want to kind of tread the line a little bit carefully. But again, I think that's generational too. And I think us lot and younger aren't as beholden to that. And also not scared to be like, okay, well, I can exist outside of a label or outside of these main like structures, like T starting her own thing. You know what I mean? It's like there's options that didn't exist before. And I think, I don't know, I always try to be, even though I also think like you sometimes in certain situations, but I also, again, the privilege of what we have, even having the strength of numbers that we've got 10, 15 years ago, it would have just been you, one. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's it. And it's like, do I pick this battle now and fight it, or do I do that and lose my job? You know what I mean? So I think it's a little bit difficult. Again, comes down to allyship, and the people who are in power, they need to step up and support that person in that moment so they don't feel so exposed and alone and feeling like they can, battle something.
Kamal, on your point that you touched, that the music industry, it doesn't look like how it did before. So how do you not feel that the music industry has evolved in terms of diversity and inclusion over the years? So especially for black artists and professionals.
Do I have to answer it? Sorry.
Anyone can, really.
I think it's gotten a lot better. Like, I can only speak from my perspective from when I started around like 6 years ago, but I've seen a massive progression in terms of, people in high positions, influence now, like walking in the buildings and what I'm seeing, the amount of people I'm seeing. And again, back to that conversation around safety and comfort, there's still a lot of work to do. But we work in the same building, and it's like a family like vibe. We don't, whereas like maybe like, let's say 5-6 years ago, if I was going to another label, I probably have to kind of tiptoe around it, feel a bit kind of weird. And like to your point, like walking in with that ackee and saltfish, I'm not, before you're automatic, exactly, I'm not hiding it anymore. Usually I feel like tense, or someone's gonna say something now, do you know what I mean? Or you come with new hair now, someone's gonna, people have gone through it, people touching the hair, all these type of things. And it's like, some people are doing it through pure ignorance, but we just feel a lot safer now. Like I said before, there's still more work to be done, because ultimately there's still issues there, and some of them are really, really deep rooted. But I definitely see it going in a positive trajectory, even to the point where, like you said, I'm not scared to make those sacrifices. I'm not scared to ever lose my job. But if that was 10 years ago, maybe I would have had that fear, like you're saying, the last generation would have had.
So just to add to that as well, I think there's also like you said, there's like the debrief, there's the Black Music Coalition that exists solely for black people. Yeah. And that's okay. Like you have Shanice at YouTube that's like creating an event every single year that like celebrates black people. And I think that again, 10 years ago, that probably didn't, I was obviously probably too young, but that didn't exist. So I think that like, even just like from a celebration standpoint, black people have spaces to celebrate.
like unapologetically, and no one can really say anything. And I also think even from an artist standpoint, like it's crazy, like the numbers that they're doing, like how they're charting, etc. And I think before it had to be, even if you're black, it had to still feel like it was very commercial and pop, and that's like changed so much. I think there's still more room for artists to exist outside of like rap, etc. And for them to just make the music that they want to make. And I think during lockdown and like Black Lives Matter movement, etc., like the demolishing of like the word urban, etc., like I think it really helped like people just make music. Like it made people just like not feel like they had to like live a life that felt like you just had to be like a rapper or like wear big chains, etc. So I do think that there's definitely movement, and like the industry is growing and it's more accepting to, I just want to say like I guess black executives, etc. But I also think that like the generation is sort of like, I'm going to do it regardless. And I think we're now seeing like people do so many unconventional things, like not only just in music, in fashion, etc., that like are young. You're just thinking, oh, there's a community out there for me, and you guys are going to, like, even if you don't like it, you're going to follow it some way or another. And I think that like we no longer need the structures and the buildings to sort of make the impact and change that we want. So yeah.
I remember back in my day, I'm going to show my age, guys, there was a thing called Channel U. So I don't know if we know what Channel U is. I think you might be too young to know. So on Channel U, it would be like underground artists, and it was like a very pirate program or a TV station or whatever it is. And you only really saw black London music on that channel, where you had more the Americans on like the MTV Cribs and the MTV stuff. And I think to see now where, let's use for example Stormzy, for example, or even Skepta has paved the way for us. It's a completely different thing where we're seeing high quality videos and schemes and fashion, and we're everywhere. Where 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, I want to say, it was never really like that.
Sorry, but can I just add to that? But I also think we're building our own like spaces, like you have GRM, you have Link Up TV, etc., that are like literally building their own like, I guess, spaces for black things to exist, or like you have Cortez, like that, like, do you know what I mean? So I think it's like, again, like I said, even if they're not letting us into that room, etc., just build your own now.
Build your own four walls. I love that. Guys, write that down. Build your own four walls, then let you in, okay? Or kick the door down. No, I'm joking. Okay, my next question is, so representation matters. How does the visibility of black artists and professionals impact the industry, both creatively and economically? Anyone?
I think it's just all about taking up space, and kind of to follow on from T's point, like I think 2014, Meridian Dan dropped German Whip, which I feel like was obviously not the first song that came out of this scene at all, but in terms of crossing over, it's not the best either, you know, necessarily, but in terms of breaking through the mainstream, I think it definitely opened a door and made way for a new sort of a new chapter of black artists not having to compromise so much. And I think, you know, depending on how deeply you follow like the Skeptas or Wileys of the scene, like even Chip, like, and if you look at their earlier journeys and some of the song choices that they made, now a lot of people be like, oh my God, I can't believe you made that. I still think the songs stood the test of time. Like there's some proper club like Party Island bangers that are amazing, but it definitely was in the vein of, I need to do this to blow. And I think 2014 Meridian Dan, 2015 it was like into Western, what else I'm trying to think, Huss and Bane and Young Bane dropped Abracadabra, Skepta coming, in fact 2015 was Skepta coming out with all the rest of the man them, with Kanye West to perform all day at the Brits, like small moments, but it's like the man them are in tracksuits on stage at the Brits on national television, and that had never happened before. And these things of, you know, images and versions of ourselves that we've all seen and grown up with being depicted on, you know, mainstream media is really important, and that continued to pave the way. Skepta doing That's Not Me, and, you know, again, being in a tracksuit where normally it's like he'd be in a little suit, or, you know what I mean, having to feel like you had to conform so much. And I think the power of having representation is especially for Black people, so important because we need the space to be the different versions of ourselves. Like, we're not all from the hood. We don't all like rap. We don't all eat the same things or do the same things or speak the same. Like, don't get me wrong, of course there's a similarity and there's, you know, that we're proud of, and there's a culture that's super strong and potent actually that has spread throughout, you know, the way that people speak in the UK. they might not realize it, but this is vernacular from, I would say, particularly Jamaican culture as well, historically. Again, changing now with all the different, you know, demographics that we have here, and there's other words creeping into, you know, mainstream language. But like, if ASOS email you and say, "Hey, girl," I know you didn't think that came from like Shropshire. Do you know what I mean? It's like these things, like, it's really natural to us, and this has become part of, you know, youth culture in this country. And I think that representation of seeing it and knowing that it's from us, it's not dressed up as, you know, an Ed Sheeran or, you know, doing grime or he's speaking in another language. You know what I mean? He's always, oh my God, is he speaking Ghanaian? Like, how does he know that? Like, it's not gimmicky anymore. It's actually from us. And it allows people to show up as their unapologetic selves. And I think that's really important. And it makes all of us learn more about all these different versions of Blackness and not to be so homogenized. And I think that's really important. I think that was your question. I don't know if I've answered it. I've gone off a little bit, I think.
I was going to ask Reese, because Reese, you have obviously 5K records. So I want to see, how have you seen visibility of Black artists, like professionally? Like, how have you seen it change since you started and like where you are now?
There's just a lot more, and I think, like Kamali said, it's not homogenous. I remember when before 5K, I've been at a few labels, but I was at Black Butter when I interned, and we had an artist called K-Trap there. At the time, I think Heady One was also under Sony also. And the way they kind of put together, just in general, like all Black male artists. So as soon as Stormzy would get a #1, people would be asking me, okay, so why's K-Trap not #1 then? Because is he not the same? But it's like, no, they are still very different, still, you know, at different stages of their careers, you know what I mean? But so I think now, we, like Kamali was saying, like, we are different. They can accept people at different stages, and I think people are now understanding the differences between artists and what makes them, actually just seeing them as individuals. I think with us sometimes people just see us and paint us sort of one, that puts under one blanket, rather than actually understanding that we are individuals within ourselves, and understand that we need to be treated a certain way, and I think there's a big difference there. So even, I think it just allows more artists to believe that there's a space for them as well. Whereas before, it's like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. But now seeing more of them enter the building, like nowadays, I see all these artists, they rock up to the building like they're home. Like, do you know what I mean? Where before they might be a bit more hesitant. They're like, okay, who am I gonna see here? Now it's just kind of like artists will literally every month, especially on my label, we'll have artists that might not even be from the label, just want to come up and chat. Do you know what I'm saying? As an A&I, see it all the time. There's just that element of like, oh, they believe they're actually supposed to be a part of this because they see people, like you said, that look like them just doing the same thing, and they haven't had to conform. So instead of conform, have come in and like transformed, which is a good thing.
And then Tia, I wanted to ask you, so obviously you represent a DJ who is female, and I think the female DJs are killing it right now. You have like Uncle Waffles, I can't think of anybody else right now, my mind's gone blank. But how did you find navigating that in quite a male dominated space?
I think I come across extroverted, but I'm kind of introverted actually, really, and I just figured it out. And I think it is really difficult because you will go, like I go to her bookings with her, and sometimes you're having you're in rooms with, again, like very senior people that have booked her, and you're thinking like, I'm like, shit, I actually have to speak to them. I actually have to tell them what I do. But so I'm like trying to figure out, again, I've only been managing her for a year. Joss Wavy. Yeah, sorry, she was meant to be here, but she can't, she's ill. I've only been managing her for a year. And like, I think one time we went to a booking, she was DJing at Flannels, and I got to the door and the guy was like, no. I was thinking, and I didn't know what to say. And at that point, I sort of like became really small. And then like, again, PTSD trauma, but I just felt like, damn, like someone's made me feel small, like I don't know what to say. But in that moment I should have said, actually, yes, no, you move, and like I'm representing someone, because my job isn't to sort of like conform or make anyone on the team feel good. It's about Joss at that moment and making sure that she's okay. Sorry, what was your question?
How do you feel navigating in a male space?
So I think it's scary. Like I think as a woman in music, it is very scary. As a black woman, it's even scarier because anything you say can come across as aggressive. Like if you don't want to talk, it can come across aggressive. You don't want to smile. But I think one thing I've really learned is just sort of like unapologetically being myself. And the talent and the proof is in the pudding, right? Like you're gonna book her regardless of if you like me or not. And I've also learned again to lean on, I want to say lean on my male counterparts, but like ensuring kind of having allies, like people that I know that like I trust and that I'm like, maybe so Alvin, who was my business partner, you know what, maybe come to my booking with me because they see a black guy and for some reason they love you guys, right? So they're going to be a little bit more friendlier to me. They're not going to see me as aggressive or scary. So I've tried to be a bit more strategic with it, but I do think there's still a lot of work to do in the like I think music as a whole, but even in the DJing space, I think there's still this like negative, like women can't DJ and they don't know what they're doing behind the decks. But I think it's getting better.
We've got about 15 minutes left. I'm going to open the floor to questions, but my last question for you guys are, so as we know, yesterday was World Mental Health Day. I'm going to ask, what advice would you give our students in starting out in music, and how do you guys protect your mental health within the music industry? I know it can be a lot. What advice would you give our students who are starting out in the music industry, protecting their mental health, and how do you protect your own mental health? I like everyone pondering. Everyone's taking a minute.
I've actually. You can go. Yeah.
Go on, Reese.
Now, in terms of advice, okay, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but a lot of the times when I do these things, people don't realize who's in the room with them and who they should seek about. I think when I started out, my biggest superpower was actually finding people that were just at the same level as me. And it's not like I didn't have the option to go to other people, but I started out working with Link Up TV, and I remember being in the car with Rashid, and I was like to him, I want to give this idea to an artist, but like I've got nothing to offer. And he was like to me, but you have an idea. Do you know what I mean? It was like, and also if they don't want it, why don't you just go to somebody else? Like you're too focused on who you're giving to the idea to, but if your idea is solid, it's an idea. Do you get what I mean? And I think I started out my journey by doing a panel with execs from music buildings to kind of get someone an internship, and I didn't have an internship at the time. So I was actually trying to get people into positions that are on the same level as me, into a position that I'm not even in yet. And then it's a full circle thing, because when they started to move up the ladder and I started to apply for that same internship, I had people in the building who were allies to be like, that guy. So you don't know where someone's going to go to. So for me, that was like one of the key things for me in terms of what I should do.
And how do you protect your mental health, Reese?
How I protect my mental health, I'm honest and transparent with everyone that I'm around and people I love, and most importantly, Christ.
Love that.
Yeah.
Of course you can. I think my advice is to stay grounded. I think that like you kind of echoing what you said, treat everybody the same. Like no one is more important and no one is less important. I think that like you never know who is going to one day like be on top of you and you're going to need a favor from. So like I genuinely believe in staying grounded and being your true self. One way I've like protected my mental health is like always making like knowing that like I don't really like going to music events anymore, because I feel like, again, it's no offense, it's the same people, etc., whatever, and it's a good networking tool, but I know I feel most comfortable around my friends. So like if I can't go with like someone that's genuinely my friend, I try not to go as much, because you kind of find yourself outside every single day of the week. So I think that like one thing is like staying grounded and staying true to yourself and your ethics and who you are. So that would be my advice. And again, similar to you, like I keep my mental health sane with God. Like I think there's nothing I cannot do or no barriers that I can overcome with without him. So yeah, I would say that like I lean on God for deep prayer now.
And Kamali, last but not least.
You know what? I really don't like this question, because how do I protect my the mental health thing is just like it's so ongoing, isn't it? And it really does. It actually is, because it is quite a stressful job in general, and it's about other people. So I guess like it is about being a bit more in tune with yourself and like knowing when you're hitting your limit, which it's like hasn't always been easy for me. I think I've got a high threshold for things. So like, I don't know, even not pain like that, but like pain, pressure, stress, like I feel like I can manage it semi well, but then you tip over the edge. And then, you know, I remember last year I was super stressed out and I had like an outbreak of eczema. I don't actually suffer with eczema, but things like that. And you really, you know, and that's when it kind of hits you that you need to be a bit more careful with yourself. So I think in the, you know, easy, short ways is like just taking a minute out. Like, it's so easy to get like lost in time, and like, I don't know, if you're making music, you might just be in the studio for hours, no breaks, like you haven't eaten, small things like that, like actually treating yourself like a human and like feeding and watering yourself, taking a minute out, some fresh air, 5 minutes, check in with your people. And yeah, echoing both of, you know, I probably would have said your point actually, Reese, about, you know, not always looking so far ahead in front of you, and actually it's so important who you come up with. And there's people that I work with now that someone went to school with, none of us were like, oh yeah, we're going to do music. Like that wasn't, we were just rolling, you know what I mean? Or like we were speaking about Recess, and those are friends that, you know, we've come up with, and who knew that we'd be like, oh yeah, we're in Amsterdam this week or Paris doing Recess, you know? So it is really important to build that network sideways, not just upwards. But yeah, just looking after yourself. And now that I guess I'm a little bit older and have a bit more money, just taking breaks as well. For me, travel has been really important. Even if it's, I know you love a good trip as well. That one, no, it's true. And even if it's short, like, you know, again, it doesn't mean you have to go super far if you can't manage that. But just getting out of your current surroundings is so empowering and like just resets you. And for me, again, obviously not to bring the self-care back to work, but for me, traveling and like A&R and music is so wrapped up in people and culture, and visiting other places and being like, oh shit, like that's what they do. And, you know, you could be in the Caribbean or Europe, like, oh shit, Italy, this is going off, or there's this new scene coming. And it just kind of really resets me and makes me feel energized and excited about work again. Because as fun as music is on paper, when you're in it every day, sometimes it's not that fun. And and it's something that you don't, you know, you want to also not take that for granted. Like there's days that I prayed to have a job like this and be paid to do what I do, and like you can easily lose sight of that when you haven't had a good day off, or you know what I mean. So yeah, I would say definitely like just being in tune with yourself and what your body needs. And yeah, if you start getting eczema or like, I don't know, shooting pains in your arm, don't ignore it, like chill out, you know what I mean, have a bath and
come and see us. We're in the office.
Exactly. Hit up your nearest like pastoral care point of contact.
Literally. Sorry, just can I add one of like what you just said? I remember one time I got really stressed because something happened when I was at work, and they said to me, "Oh, you're actually not a doctor. Like I'm not saving lives. Like it's not open heart surgery. Like it's not an open heart surgery. Like you can take time away. Nobody's gonna die. Yeah, nobody's gonna die. Like do you know what I mean? The link might not work, but it's fine. Nobody's gonna die. Like, and I think you can get so caught up in like serving other people that you forget to serve yourself, and you end up sick. Yeah, no. You're not a doctor. Yeah. No.
Okay, guys, we're going to open the floor. Lovely Tanya has a very interesting mic in her hand that I've never seen before. Oh, I didn't get that. I'm the host. Anyways, well, guys, any questions, please put your hand up and Tanya will come to you.
What do you think can be done in terms of artist development and scene development when you look outside of London? Do you think there's sort of adequate services, or do you think it could be improved?
I think it can always be improved. Obviously, the industry has been super London-centric, as is everything, because we are the capital city. But I think, especially in the black music space, there's people like Adex, who manages H. He's got an amazing facility in Manchester called NQ. It's just one example. And it's become a real hub, kind of similar to this setup. They've got studios and photographic studios, recording studios, podcast rooms, and they do events similar to this as well. And again, it's representation and feeling like actually this can happen down the road, and Adex and H have built, you know, this career together. So I think that's important. And I do feel like people are starting to think much more regionally in terms of where they're getting that talent from. So it definitely can be improved for sure, and faster. But I do think there's people doing some really good work. I don't know, Ultimate Seminar, for example, like bringing, I don't know if you've ever been to, is it still called, no, Creating Vision, I think it's called now, sorry. which is another kind of seminar-based like event. But again, they invite artists and different execs, and they do it in different places. I think I've done it probably 3 times now, and I've been to Liverpool. You know, like they're trying to expand it. I think there's definitely people that care about that. But yeah, artist development also has been a little bit of a lost art the last few years, and I think that's probably on its way back. I think the industry is quite cyclical as well, so there's going to be like kind of peaks and troughs where that kind of goes out the window, and then it's like, shit, we desperately need it, which I think we're heading to now. Yeah.
Hey everybody, my name is Raphael. I manage Simba, Kawali, ZT Switch and 163 Mugs. So touching on the question you just asked, I'm from Swindon, so I'm not even from London. Exactly. But obviously we're lucky, we've been blessed, we've had a lot of success in the scene, and Simba was 3rd in the charts, and it just kind of shows, like, to your question, like I feel like the scene's changing. It's like Kamali said with Addicts, like they're from Manchester. They've shown that it's possible for people outside of London to have the success. And what's good about Addicts is one of the things he's done, he connected with me. I'm also doing it from outside of London, and it's about, like, you've just also got to hit up people that have similar stories to you, because they're the people that's going to kind of understand your story even better. And they understand kind of that it's hard. When you're coming to London, it's not like simple to connect with everyone, because everyone's a bit different, or they've already got their like groups. However, like when you start like learning people's stories, you'll start realizing there's a lot of people that's like you, that's also not from London, but like they'll relate to you, and they usually try to help you. They'll usually try to bring you through to opportunities. And when I first came into the scene, I didn't know nobody, but over time, when I started getting to know people, or when I started reaching out, it might take you reaching out to them, but usually they're the ones that's more receptive, and they're the ones that want to help you and bring you through, and they understand your struggle. Because I'll be real, when me and Simba first came through, nobody knew what Swindon was. Then when we put Swindon on the map, like, it kind of got easier, because then other artists from my area started to come through, and Simba, Kawali, Silver, like, I've had an artist called Silver, they're all from the same area, and it kind of shown people in the area that it is possible to achieve. So literally, a lot of people from the area also hit me up now in regards to that, and I always try to support them, and always try to tell them opportunities in the scene. And I feel like it's like what Kamali said, like, it needs to happen quicker. So now I feel like this year, next year, the scene's changing a lot. Like, everyone's kind of bored of just like, everyone wants to collaborate, and they're just bored of kind of it just being one area. So now it's the time where artists from all other areas are being discovered. So yeah, definitely it's just about kind of connecting. I feel like your network is your net worth, so you've also just got to try hit up people, but definitely like look at people that, like, listen to people's stories. If you can find people that have similar stories to you, and that stories being outside of London, like, you lot can connect and make something happen.
Raf, for the audience, where is Swindon?
Swindon's it's like near Reading, it's near Bristol, it's in the southwest. It's only like 45 minutes, 50 minutes away from London, but that's by train. By car, it's like an hour and a half away.
No, it's not far. Okay, guys, anybody else got a question?
For each of you, which was your pivotal moment in music? So how did you know this was the moment I'm gonna do music? What was it? What was that pivotal moment for you guys?
I can tell mine, because mine's very, again, unconventional. So like I said, I wanted to be an investment banker, literally up until the age of, so I'm 26, up until the age of 21. So I haven't been in the industry long. But yeah, and I remember, like, I wanted up until the age, actually no, maybe up until the age of 19. I took a gap year, and then I was privileged enough to work at Red Bull. So I worked on the cultural marketing team, and I met someone that I rave and shout about, Akuya. She does Stormzy's brand marketing. And I worked on a project with her and Wretch with Red Bull. And I was like, oh, people work in music. This is cool. And then me and her just started speaking, and I was just like, oh, okay, maybe I don't want to be a banker. Maybe I don't want to work at brand. Maybe I want to work at music. And she connected me to my first music job that I don't really talk about. And then it was like kind of like that moment when I realized I was good at it, that like my brain is wired to sort of like tell stories around artists. And then that was it for me.
Mine was definitely during my final year of uni, because I studied business management, and I think I didn't have to do a dissertation, so I had one exam, but I had loads of assignments, and I'd done about 8 out of the 10 assignments already by January, and I'd got like a 2-1 or a first in all of them. So it got to a point where unless I didn't turn up to my exam, I was pretty much gonna pass. And then I felt this sense of like, okay, but what next? I don't really feel like, me and my friend always had this phrase that we're not trying to live an average life. I don't want to just do what, it just didn't feel like it was for me where I come from. I was like, nah, I'm sure there's something more out there for me. And I think that was the moment I kind of came to Christ as well. And I just tried to pray, but I didn't even feel like praying. Like praying didn't actually feel like praying to me. I felt like I was forcing it, but I still just did it. And all of a sudden, as the weeks went on, I was like, I still don't know what to do, But my mind started to become sensitive to my behaviors and habits. And I started to self-reflect, and I was like, wait, everybody watches Power and all these things. I started to realize all I do is watch music documentaries. I start to realize all I actually do is people that don't know me would only come to me to ask me about music. So I started to think, oh, maybe this is my thing. Yeah, and then I went down that route and started doing music stuff, and then it kind of went in from there, so yeah.
Come on, stress over.
Cool. So when I wanted to do music, it's crazy because like, I feel like with me, I realised my passion kind of comes from, I want to see my friends do well. So Simba, for example, he was my friend. So I never had no interest in music. Like, I grew up with sisters that loved music, and I hated it because they used to always sing in the house. So I was trying to stay away from it. Then it got to a point where like, I see my friend had talent with music, but he wasn't kind of taking it further. And I was just like, but this can go far. And I must have shared it on my Snapchat like story one day, and everybody was saying, who's that? And obviously when I kind of showed him the reception, kind of motivated him to do it. So then it got to the point where like, I never really wanted to do it, even after we had the success to begin with. I was just doing it because like, he was my friend and I wanted to see him win. Then it got to the point where like, I'd done it again. I think it was the second time that I kind of realized, oh, I want to do this. Because if I want to do it, why do I keep doing it? I thought it was by luck. I just thought it happened by accident. Then I started to realize that, nah, like, I actually want to do it. I have a passion for it. Like, I have a passion for wanting to see my friends do well, and music happened to be the thing that my friends were good at doing. So then I started realizing, no, I want to like do it. So yeah, it's weird because I feel like it just clicks one day. You don't realize it until you realize it.
Just fall into it.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, I think it's difficult for me because, like I said, I've just always been around music my whole life, so it didn't feel like something I had to choose. But I guess I could say I did opt out of it, and when I left uni, I got a job in fashion instead, and I was a booker at a hair and makeup agency, and I was doing, basically, we rep session stylists, so hair, makeup, nails, and we do like magazine covers like Vogue and Glamour and Elle and the Chanel runway show, and really like high fashion, like amazing stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm not a music girl, I'm a fashion babe. And I was like, yeah, like I'm so different like from the rest of my family, I'm so like whatever. And I did really love it, I had a great time, I did that for a few years, but it was like, I don't know, I just felt like I felt a ceiling above me, and I felt like, oh, I wanted to bring new talent onto our books, and my boss was not really trying to let me do that. And I just felt like I knew how to see talent in, no matter what the talent is. It doesn't even have to just be music. Like if someone's walking down the street, like I wanted to be a model booker when I was younger, because I was like, oh, like even sometimes I look at you and I'm just like, that bone structure, bro, like we could be making money. You know what I mean? And so I think there's something in me, I knew that was what I wanted to do, and I guess I tried a different route. But yeah, I quit that job and I went into music like officially, even though I was kind of, volunteering and doing it. So yeah, I guess that's why I was kind of struggling. I don't feel like there was one moment where, other than quitting my job and going, okay, I'm not gonna, like, why am I messing around? Like, I don't want to do all this other stuff. And I just went for it. And I guess, I even took a pay cut to take this shitty internship, which was horrible, for a year. But that being said, because you know what I mean, T, it was the same, we spoke about it anyway, like it was the same, a really tough year for me. But that being said, like, you just kind of have to trust the process, and it will take you to where you need to go. And I met the people that I needed to meet to get me to where I am now. So yeah, that's probably mine. But I do think you just know. I don't even think you realise it. Again, it's like music documentaries. It's like my mum and dad used to take me to like video shoots when I was a baby in the studio, and like you don't even realise how that's like infiltrating you. So yeah, I just think it's kind of in you without you knowing, until a reason comes along.
Me, Okay, so my dad was a DJ. He's old now. So I used to hang around. So my first experience in music was me being underneath a DJ decks, hearing Craig David in clubs I shouldn't have been in. My mum defo cussed him out. So yeah, music. I'm a very eclectic babe. I like reggae and also like punk. I like rock music. A bit of Paramore's a bit of me. And so when I went to uni, I did fashion first, worked for X Factor, and I was just like, I don't really want to be in the cupboard doing all the steaming of the clothes. Came out of that, worked for fashion magazines, and then I got a job at Universal. So I was in there doing more like the branding for like brands and stuff. But then I really realized that my passion is working for young people who look like me, who have passion for music, 'cause I still love music. And I love walking around the corridors hearing people singing, and I'm hearing the choir, and I'm hearing a bit of like techno, and I love that. So I'm not as far as my people on the lovely panel here, but I definitely feel like my passion of doing counselling and music has come together for me to help you guys be the best you can be and stir your gifts inside you. Yeah? Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. No, don't clap for me, please. I'll stop blushing. Oh, anyone else? We've got about one more question. Tanya's looking at me in the back, saying, "Jams, wrap it up." So if we don't have anyone else, or do we have anyone else? Oh.
And then you start, and you recognize other people have talent. What would your advice be to people who know people who they also think have talent? Like, how would you suggest they take that talent to the next level?
To be fair, sometimes it can take a while. Because, you know, sometimes it's like, I keep using Simba as a reference point, but with Simba, it's like, I knew he had talent. And sometimes some people don't even believe in themselves. I feel like I can see when my friends don't believe in themselves. So I was just there. I was willing to go the extra mile for them. And the extra mile paid off. So I just, like, I feel like for you, with that friend, sometimes I just had to show Simba the things he needed to do. And it's like, sometimes they don't even want to take the first step. Like, Simba knew he was good at music, but it's like I kind of had to force him, yeah. Like, he wouldn't do it. Like, I had to kind of show him, and it took me showing him that other people thought the same thing for him to then realize. And sometimes it was like, I was willing to do the extra mile, which was, back then, I connected the dots. So sometimes you just have to kind of help them do the things that maybe they're not thinking to do at that time. Because then when you help them do that, after a while, when they realize the outcome like helps them, that gives them the motivation to want to do more. And all it takes is for another person to see what you see in a person, and now you've got like a whole group of people trying to help that person. And usually, like, I realize by connecting the dots, like it kind of works itself out. Like, I thought like all the people that Simba then met helped Simba realize that was his passion, and then one day for them it will click as well that, wow, I'm good at this. And whether that's through the metrics, like with Simba had success, so he understood that, yeah, this is my talent. For other people, sometimes it might take just people showing them love or just realizing that people appreciate them. Sometimes people's like been through a lot, so they might not realize that they're talented, and it's just about kind of understanding your friend, understanding their story, and understanding how to get the best out of them. With Simba, I kind of gave him time. So I gave him time to just get to grips with it and understand that this was for him. And sometimes some people feel like people don't want to like wait for them, or maybe they're going through something, so you just have to be kind of patient and be willing to just let it take time. Like, when I try to force Simba to do stuff, he might take a while to do it, but he will do it at the end. So that's why I go the extra mile and try to be there for them, whether it's through like physical, just being in a room with them, like when they're in a session, whether it's through mentally just asking them, how's your health? That goes a long way for a lot of people. Yeah. Like, a lot of the time when I say that to my friends, they go, wow, no one's ever asked me that. Or sometimes I even ask random people, have you ate today? And it's like, wow, no one ever asked me that. But just that extra stuff can make your friend realize that, wow, like, you're really supporting them. So yeah, I feel like that's the best way to.
Okay. Can I add to that as well? Because there's a person at the moment that's in my life, and I work with young people as well, etc. And he's really, really good at music, and he believes himself or whatever, etc. And he's like looking for a manager, and I was like, oh, I can actually manage you, and I would know what I'm doing. But like, I started to doubt myself. So I think that if you have a friend and you like want to work with them in like, you know them better than a stranger that's probably going to come and offer to manage them. So I think even like if they believe in themselves, they just don't know how to navigate it. Tell them like, let's do it together. Because sometimes it's nice to do it with a friend. Like, they know you. Like, it doesn't have to be this like big, okay, yeah, this is what we're doing. It's just like, let's learn together. And I think that they'll be probably more open to that, because again, this boy that I said that to, he got approached by this big manager and he started to just get scared and said, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. So I think even like you're saying, from a warming place, like you could literally just say, I really believe in you. Let's try it. Like, let's see what comes from it. And I think they'll be receptive.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming out, guys, to the Black History Month panel. And thank you to our panel. Thank you, Raf, T, Kamali, and Reece. You guys have been fantastic. Guys, I think we're getting kicked out now. Tanya is really looking at me. But again, please get home safe. Any questions you want to ask, I'm also here throughout the week. I live here. But anything regarding mental health, please do speak to us. Again, we care about that for you. And yeah, my name's Jamila. This is me done, wrapped. Guys, thank you so much. And get home safe. I would drop the mic, but they would fire me. Thank you so much.